I'm just gonna go for a minute because, like, adoption has, the fact that I'm an adopted kid has always just kind of been a fact of my life. It's something that's just like the fact that I have brown hair or blue eyes. It's just like a feature of me as a person. I've always known. It's never been a secret to me. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to do this.
This is Connor's first birthday party. He's helping Emma.
I do want to ask the why because I feel like that's mildly important.
Well, we decided to adopt because we were both working. We were both working full time, but we always wanted to have a family.
We had been trying to have children for about a 2-year period. We couldn't get pregnant. We went to what is it? The reproductive doctors. They started us on a program where mom had to take shots. She only took one shot, and that was enough.
Yeah, that was all she.
That was all she was up for. So she was ready to adopt. So we know we wanted to start a family. Emery was totally convinced. Just let's adopt. And of course, I was more not sure about that.
We decided to do domestic, so then we found an adoption agency and we applied. And one of the first steps with this agency is to produce a photo book that prospective birth parents can look at. So we put together a photo book and we were chosen almost instantly. And I think the reason we were chosen almost instantly was the age. And so we took a lot of pictures. So we took pictures of the two moms, the two dads, both couples with the baby. We took all these pictures, which the hospital thought was really weird.
This is Connor in the sprinkler. Hey, dude, this is your first time in the sprinkler, isn't it? Show Daddy going in the sprinkler. Woo! The one I got.
You feel really strongly about adoption, you'd say.
Well, that it was for us. I never had any doubt that it was the right thing for us.
Yeah, so I wasn't certain that I'd feel the same way. So, I was not sure what it would be like to adopt. Would it be the same as having biologically fathered a child? Would it feel the same? Would not having gone through the 9-month pregnancy process, would we bond, the way you would with a biological child? So I had all those concerns, and then we went on to adopt. And I can happily tell you that it's no different than having a biological child.
Family is the bedrock. So family comes first for me. And I think many families operate like that their family and friends are number one.
There is no difference. Well, again, I think it's having a family, having someone who can, who you can have as a lifelong, part of your life.
So we have the first 20 years of baking, skiing, traveling, doing things, but we have so many more years ahead of us, which I look forward to.
All the fun things we've done. When I think about, what makes life worthwhile, I had a lot of fun, being with you guys and playing ball and, skiing and swimming and, vacations. Those are the things that I remember. And the things I look forward to are, things like watching the ball game tonight, having this birthday dinner. I love what I do as well. Like, I love going to work every day. I love building things, but, that's what makes life worth living, is having, your family, helping them and seeing them grow. So that's what makes it worthwhile.
I've talked about my family experience, but my girlfriend, Becca, her family adopted Courtney, her sister, who is biologically her cousin. And that was a really, really different story than mine, where for me, I was always just a member of my family, and there was never any real distinction between me and, the people who were born into that family. There was for Courtney.
When people ask about my sister, I normally tell them that she's my Hanai sister, which in Hawaiian is pretty much my adopted sister, familial sister, even though not genetically my sister. Genetically, she's my cousin. My grandmother adopted her after she was born, so she wouldn't go into the system after some issues with her birth mother, my aunt. And after my grandmother died, my grandmother literally willed her to us, to my family, so that she, again, wouldn't go into the system, because when my grandmother died, she was only 12 or 13. So she stayed with us until she was 18. But I'd known her whole life. It went from 0 to 60 beyond quickly. My parents were also like very blunt about things. They didn't sugarcoat it, you know. She came home and she was talking about a boy, they'd be like, "Oh, well, your boy crazy." And she didn't appreciate that. She didn't appreciate being generalized. And so her natural route to take was to be like, "Yeah, I'm boy crazy." And she'd escalate to that to the point of self-deprecation. "Well, I'm just a slut," or blah, blah, blah. The funniest thing was that she would come to me and ask for me for advice on these things, and I would give her my advice, and then she would not take it. And at that point, like, it had happened 5 or 6 times, and then I was at that point where I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm not going to give you any more advice because you obviously aren't going to listen to it. And at that point, I think that's when we had a huge chip driven into our relationship, because she would come in my room and just talk to me to talk. And me, being a selfish asshole, I would be on my computer and I'd just be like, okay, yeah, sure. She would lose phone privileges, she would lose computer privileges, she would be deemed untrustworthy on the internet, so my parents would take away her access to the internet. It would be stupid things, like she would have like a Facebook page or a MySpace page or whatever, and she'd put her location and how old she was and all of her pictures and so on and so forth. Normal things that a kid would do in high school, and my parents would flip out about it. She got a talking to, and then she had to take it away from her. There was no room for error at all. Where with me, I had experienced leniency already, and I had definitely rolled all over the rules and taken advantage of things where I could, and they didn't hold me to such a strict standard that they held her to. But I think that's on the grounds because they thought they knew me better. They knew that I wouldn't like go out of my way to try and meet a stranger on the internet or et cetera, things like that. With her, they didn't know what to expect with her. So they just took they dialed it up to 11. They took no chances with her at all. During Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I was watching it for the first time, and Gamora and Nebula was so pissed with Gamora and said, you know, I was never good enough. I was never good enough. Everything I did, you did better. And I could just see her saying that to me and hating me for it. And then immediately after, Gamora tells her, I did what I had to. I did all I could. And I think that's a perfect summation of the entirety of our relationship. Is I wanted to be better than you, but I did what I could. And then that moment hit, and I just lost it. I had to pause the movie. I was crying. I had to take a minute. I started hyperventilating because it felt like I had seen her in a movie. Like we were those two. And then later on in the movie, when they're all fighting and then they help each other and save each other, then, you know, my heartstrings got tugged a little more because I'm sitting there like, oh God, I wish that were us. It was like an ideal fairy tale situation happening in front of me that I guess I'd never thought about or imagined or fantasized about before. And then once it was presented to me, it was like, wow, I didn't know that I needed that.
If you had anything to say after all of this, what would that be?
I miss you. I miss your hugs. I'm sorry I was so scared all the time. I'm sorry that I never really wanted to stick my neck out for you. I'm sorry you got dealt such a shitty hand.
On the other side of things, if you want a story that's kind of extraordinary and wonderful and insane, you've got my uncle Eamonn, because I can only imagine, you know what, I can't even imagine what it must feel like for him to be, pushing 70 and reach out to try and find his birth parents, because he was adopted, before he had any real memory of, who my grandmother was.
I don't know whether I actually missed the call or I got it, and I rang up, and then I got Sheila on the phone, and she says, I have good news and I have bad news. Your mother has passed away. I felt a wee bit very sad. Sad in that, oh, why didn't I do this years ago? Or why didn't I do it when she was healthy and that I could get some reaction or reply from her. I just would have liked to talk to her and let her know how happy of a life that she'd given me. I couldn't go back on or do anything about. And I just had to accept it. Yeah, she tried to keep me as long as possible, even though in and out fosters. And I'm sure it was heartbreaking for her to do that, to give me up after having me for so long. It wasn't as if I was just born and didn't get to know me or nurse me or whatever. That it would have been hard on her, very hard on her. The bond that's there between the mother and child, it's always going to be closer and in that way. And my birth mother's home, which I've seen photographs of Margarita and Anne-Marie being reared in that home. I thought when I looked at them, I thought the house was going to be bigger on that, but it was lovely. And as soon as I walked into it, I could feel a homely feel in that home. I could feel warmth or something, even though it was being painted and done up and what have you. I could see myself being brought up in that house. And when I looked up and down the street, I could have played up and down the street. And it was lovely. And then she said, you know, you have 2 sisters. And I said, oh, that was a very happy time and emotional time for me to find out. And I said, that's brilliant.
How did it feel suddenly having those siblings that you always wanted?
Oh, that was total joy. And a wee bit apprehension of would they want to meet me? They never knew that I existed. I made the appointment and I met Sheila, and she talked to me in one room, and then I was left in that room, and then I think Anne-Marie was in another room and she talked to her, and then she brought her in, and we just had a big hug.
I know. I saw more of you this week than I have all
When
year.
we'll visit you
But it wouldn't be to New York. They probably send you to California.
Safe journey.
Thank you, and we'll see you.
Soon.
Great trip. Yes, yeah, very soon.
And that's, that was very special. It was, I had to give them a hug. I didn't have to just give them a hug. I wanted to give them a hug. And hopefully I was feeling that they would respond to that affection. And they did, which was lovely.
Just, getting each other on some basic level. They're the people that are with you you know, on some deeper level. They're just the people that you have in your life and you want to have in your life, and you can't imagine not having in your life in some way or another. They're a part of you. And so, you know, it's messy. It's not, you know, perfectly loving or clean. It's kind of a patchwork, messy but pretty in its own weird way. But that's family.